Good morning, everyone. Good to see you again. Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the Social Innovation Forum 2024. I hope you had a fruitful day yesterday, delving deeper into the role of social innovation and identifying the essential skills, the working conditions, and the tools required to foster the next generation of innovators. Later, we'll discover the results of your hard work from yesterday afternoon. First, let's begin by taking a stroll through today's agenda. And we will start with opening remarks from Ruth Paserman, who was on the stage also yesterday with us, Director for Funds, Programming and Implementation at DG Employment of the European Commission. After that, Aymeric Marmorat will join us to share his lessons learned in training tomorrow's Gamechangers. Next up are 2 short presentations to discover more promising practices from the Social Innovation Match database. Afterwards, we'll dedicate some time to explore the insights indeed that emerged yesterday during your work in the workshops with our thematic experts. We will take an hour for this discussion because it's important. A last presentation from the Social Innovation Match database will follow. And next, we'll discover more about the exciting activities and future plans ahead from the European Competence Centre for Social Innovation. And to close this year's forum, Rika Torpa, head of unit of the European Globalization Adjustment Fund and Shared Management at DG Employment of the European Commission, will be on the stage for the closing remarks. So first up is Ruth Paserman. Good morning, and please give her a warm welcome.
So good morning, a pleasure to be here again and to give a bit of a summary of what went on yesterday. I think from what I understand, unfortunately I couldn't be here the whole time, but what we started with a very inspiring keynote intervention by Cyprian, which also started an intense debate. It was thought-provoking, it was a bit outside of our normal ways of thinking and the ESF world, so therefore it was very interesting, also in showing how there are different kinds of innovators, different kinds of paths, and how you can, how we need to be facilitators for all these kinds of paths. Then there was, of course, the panel, which I participated, which was very participative, both the panel and from the public, with lots of interventions via Slido, lots of questions, and which went more really into the detail of how public sector can support innovation. In general, I think that this year, last year was the first time we had this forum, so it was a bit of getting to know each other, starting to know each other and to how we could work together and things like that. Well, this year, it's becoming more concrete, real concrete matching, both between, first of all, there are many more actual social innovators here and not only policy makers, but there is also more concrete discussion of concrete problems and how they can be solved. And also, the social innovation market also was a good innovation because it has allowed people to see different possibilities around Europe, and also an example that 2 people here found that they're doing the same thing that someone else is doing in another country, but they didn't know about it. So that's, I think, is a success because it shows that we can really help spreading and learning from each other. We also discussed the issue of skills, which will be again brought up later today. The skills that we discuss is not the spark of the innovator, but rather everything that's around it that is necessary: flexibility, adaptability, ability to put together a business plan, to explain what you want to do, and so on. So this is also quite understanding how you can get money. I mean, that's very complicated, as we discussed yesterday, so that's also part of the skills that are necessary. So that's in short. Then we also had the workshops of the various COPs. Some of them, I think there will be afterwards, there will be the reports on the COPs, so I'm not going to go too much into detail on that, but I just want to pick up on one, which is ALMA, not because of anything, but because it's the first one, and it is based on an actual call for proposal that we have made, and that will be crucial in evaluating whether all this is working or not. So that's why I want to mention it. And I see that it is being scaled up across member states. There are actual examples of transfer. It is challenges, lots of problems that you hadn't expect come out, but it is possible to adapt. And I think this is really what we have to focus on also for the future. So, yeah, I think these are the main points that I want to take from yesterday. I'm sorry if I forgot something that you think is very important. Please bring it up later. But looking forward to another exciting day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth Paserman. And now I'm thrilled to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Aymeric Marmorat. He is director of the Bachelor's Program ACT at the ESSEC Business School and CU Cergy Paris University in France. In his engaging presentation, Aymeric will illuminate the critical intersection of social innovation and sustainability education. He will share insights into the motivations and collaborations that drive the ACT programming and highlighting its interdisciplinary approach that is vital, according to him, for effective learning. We will find out more about the transformative learning by doing methodology and hear compelling student testimonials also on this stage that showcase the real-world impact of this innovative program. Aymeric will be joined by two of his students later on. And the keynote will be followed by a short complimentary intervention by Philippe IJsselijn, senior researcher at the Center for Sustainable Entrepreneurship at the Odyssey University of Applied Sciences here in Brussels. He will present the main goals and preliminary findings from the Erasmus Plus project ESSEC, which develops a European curriculum for social innovation between 2023 and 2027. But first, Aymeric Marmorat.
Good morning, everybody. Did you hear me? Yes? Okay, fine. First of all, I really apologize for my accent. As you can hear, I'm French. So sorry for that. Nobody is perfect. So yesterday, Cyprien said that social innovator is very rare. It's like the white tiger. Did you remember? Okay. So I'm really, yes, I am agree with that. But I also believe that we have, all of us, we have a social innovator inside of us who is sleeping. Okay? And we have all the capacity to stand up for what we believe. We have all the capacity to innovate and to implement projects for change. We have this capacity. But because of life, of education, of self-esteem, self-confidence, sometimes our social innovator is sleeping, but sometimes is wake up. And that's why I have been asking myself for 20 years on how to empower youths to become change makers or to become social innovators. How can we empower youths to become change makers? So is it by supporting young social entrepreneurs to create their own social ventures? That's why in 2006, I created an incubator. But it was not enough, because social entrepreneurs are too few to make a large-scale change. It still is not only the only solution. So is it by creating ecosystem? I saw that it's work when I co-founded La Ruche, the first co-working space dedicated to social entrepreneurs in France. But again, this was not enough, as it mainly helped existing change makers amplify the impact, rather than engaging more people to become change makers. So in 2010, I took on the leadership of Enactus France. It's a French NGO for youth education. And over 10 years, we supported more than 20,000 young people in France to get involved in the cause they care about, but creating their own project impact. But today, we are facing crisis, but more importantly, we are facing complex problems that lie in the intersection of economic, ecological, social, political, and even geopolitical issues. It's not longer just about engagement. It's not longer about only engagement. It's about deeply training people to understand and overcome this complexity. So we have discussed in our previous exchange that social innovation is a bold answer. It allows us to reinvent how we act, how we collaborate, how we work for a better world. However, social innovation cannot exist without social innovation cannot exist without social innovator. But more importantly, it cannot work without team. Team capable of designing and implementing transformative projects. This is a collective work. This is a teamwork, requiring specific skills and a broad vision. So this raises an essential question. How do we train these team members? How do we train people as change makers? So how can we provide them with a global vision of the challenges while equipping them with the precise skills to act sustainably and to solve complex problems? So imagine you had to create a 3-year program from scratch to train young people to become this agent of change. What will you do? This is a challenge I took 3 years ago with ESSEC and CY Cergy Paris University by launching the Bachelor Act. It is a 3 years full-time program. It's a multidisciplinary program designed to train young people to become change makers, dedicated to ecological and societal transition. So I will share with you some key lessons we have learned from this experience, and then you will have the opportunity to hear from 2 of our students, Salmata and Alicia. So, the challenges we face are so complex that a multidisciplinary education is essential. So take the fish industry, for example. Transforming this sector required input from biologists, from oceanographers and ecologists to address environmental issues, but we also need economists, sociologists and anthropologists to consider the socio-economic challenges faced by the fishing communities. And it's not forget for the lawyer who will address the regulatory concern, and of course, no lasting change can happen without a human-centered approach. So mediator and facilitator in collective intelligence are crucial to foster dialogue and cooperation. So that's why in the Bachelor Act program, we have brought together professors in environmental science, social science, political science, but also economics, management, psychology, cognitive science, and also social entrepreneurs, activists, and facilitators. So by combining this discipline, we teach students to think in system, to connect the various elements of a problem, and to propose innovative and sustainable solutions. So whether addressing the ecological transition, fighting inequality, or answering sustainable development of territories, this integrated approach is a key. But to truly integrate this knowledge, we have placed action in the heart of the program. Throughout the 3 years, students are involved in a concrete interdisciplinarity project in partnership with company, public institution, NGO, and local government. For example, they carry out a territorial diagnostic, biodiversity inventory, they carry out social impact assessment, carbon assessment for company also. They conduct a journalistic investigation on climate or social issue, and they also design and implement social services as entrepreneurs. So what we observed is that through this active pedagogy and by collaborating with local actors, our students find meaning in their learning. They apply directly their knowledge, develop their skills, and gradually become autonomous and responsible change makers. So another lesson we have learned from this program is the importance of combining local and international collaboration for truly impactful change. So locally, we have built a strong partnership with stakeholders in the city and in the region. This allows students to work on concrete projects rooted in the realities of their immediate environment. Internationally, thanks to the network of ESSEC and CY Cergy Paris University, our students participate in exchange and internship abroad. So this international experience enrich their training, preparing them to act in a globalized context while remaining connected to local specificities. So in this rapidly changing world, local and international collaboration is essential. It allows us to blend perspective, resources, and expertise, and to propose innovative and sustainable solutions. So you certainly understand that sustainability is at the heart of the program of Bachelor Act. So we are not just training competent students, we are training young people capable of leading projects that align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So every aspect of the program is designed to incorporate sustainability. We teach our students to manage projects by considering their purpose, by considering overall impact and social return on investment. So our students acquire technical skills while developing an ethical understanding of the balance between economic, social, and environmental factors. This prepares them to act responsibly in line with sustainable principles. But the best things is to listen to the student perspective. So now I invite you to welcome Salmata and Alicia, two of our second-year students. Thank you.
Morning. So my name is Salmata, I'm 22, and with my classmate and friend Alicia, we are students of the Bachelor Act. I was born in the Comoros Islands, and I grew up there until I was 15, then flew to France to finish my high school. As a teenager, I've always wanted to be part of the change, and it's not common for girls where I come from to stand up for what they believe in and stand up for change. But my parents have 10 girls and never wanted the world to decide for us. So I've always wanted to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. And I started by becoming my class representative, then my school ambassador. When I landed in Paris, I got in different associations, social and educational youth programs, where I started as a beneficiary. And very soon, I wanted to be the one who helped. So I spent 2 or 3 years after I graduated high school working as a cultural mediator for a youth center. Then I worked for other associations, but I wasn't happy with that. I wanted to have a bigger impact. Then someday, someone told me about the Bachelor Act. They told me it was perfect for my profile because I was very committed to a lot of different activities. At first, I have to admit that I passed the test, but then turned down the enrollment because I was 21. All of my classmates were in big schools and doing masters. Then I stepped back because I thought that I would be late. I couldn't go back to school. I wouldn't understand anything. But then the school called me back, and they wouldn't let me go. The thing about limiting thoughts is that they really limit you until someone comes and says, you can do it. And that's what happened when Aymeric called me back and reassured me about how everything I did after I graduated was a strength and not a waste of time. I thought that you cannot learn how to change the world in a classroom. But then, if it doesn't start there, where will it? Because if I wanted to have a bigger impact, somehow I needed to learn how to do that. Albert Einstein said that if I had 1 hour to save the world, I would spend 55 minutes trying to understand the problem and 5 minutes trying to solve it. And that I only understood when I joined the Bachelor. Because how can I help fight global warming if I don't understand the Earth, its needs, and how it works? Somehow, someone needed to teach me that. And we had that one course specifically where we had to address a big problematic about student life in a certain city in France. And before we start thinking about solution, we had 3 whole months of interviewing local students, workers, company managers, in order to understand the real problem, identify the real needs, and most of all, learn to know the territory we were working on so we can find the best solution possible. But what makes this program so special is that you learn hard skills as well as soft skills, and that's very rare because we work on our professional attitude, how to speak in public, project management, how to work as a team on concrete professional projects. And this is very precious because when you arrive in the professional world, you stand out and you already have years of practice, which another student from another program might not have. In this bachelor, you don't just sit and listen to teachers and write down everything they tell you. You learn a lot about climate change and social inequalities, but also learn about yourself, what you're good at, so you can figure out what good you can do for the world. This is the whole perspective of the Ikigai. The Ikigai is the Japanese equivalent of life purpose. At first, when I joined the Bachelor, I had these big ambitions about going back to my country and help with environmental issues, poverty, but then I wanted to help young people regarding education. It was all blurry for me until I worked on my life purpose. Today, it is to help young people through autonomy and emancipation in order to participate in a more equal society. I try to use every course, every advice, every experience from this bachelor in my own projects. In some courses, we are free to deliver the tasks the way we want it. It can be a simple PowerPoint, a video, a staging, and I've been learning things I wasn't able to remember before because I was learning it a very downward way. But then science has proven that you can learn by having fun or just doing it in a less academic way. The academic system needs a change, and that's the thing about innovation. It's deeply connected to change management. And if you work for 60 students, why wouldn't it work for 60 others and many more after that? Thank you.
My name is Alicia and I'm 19 years old. Since my childhood, I've always cared about others, first with my family, my friends, and more recently with people in need. One of my dreams as a child was to be part of a food distribution NGO one day. Thanks to my parents, I acquired a lot of general knowledge while growing up. That's how I developed a social-cultural interest and became aware of the environmental crisis as well. Too frequently devastated by news about climate change and social disasters, I couldn't think of any way to act. It's weird how we can relate to some dramatic events but still do nothing about it because we feel scared, powerless, and think our actions won't have an impact anyway. At 17, I volunteered at the Restos du Cœur, which has operated in the food distribution field since 1985. It was like realizing one of my childhood dreams by helping people out. This incredibly human experience, while I was at the same time studying social historical majors in high school, helped me realize that I could change things around me. No, I wasn't too young or inexperienced. My convictions and my will to act were enough. After that, I wondered what to do next. As a curious person, I didn't want to specialize in a particular field, and I searched for a way to pursue my societal activism during my studies. I went to the discovery days of a university and met a very passionate man depicting an innovative, multidisciplinary and professionalizing course to teach how to manage social, civic, and ecological changes. Immediately interested, I started to talk about my social journey, my environmental sensibilities, some random facts about my life, and you know what? That man was Aymeric. That's how I discovered Bachelor Act and found that what I was looking for had been created only a year ago. Bachelor Act is now 3 years old, and I'm a part of the second promotion of it. I realized that I was tired of an educational system where we learn without doing, or we do without knowing. But here, learning by doing is basically the foundation of the courses. Here are, for example, some of my last year courses: psychology of change, sociology, project management, design fiction, which is storytelling about innovations, systemic biology, and analysis of the 17 SDGs. Every year, we learn different skills that we can immediately apply through concrete projects. 1/3 of the bachelor program is designed to help us find our life path, thanks to introspection and personal coaching. It also gives us the tools of team group and collective intelligence. At the beginning of my first year, I was afraid to take responsibilities and manage such serious projects. I felt like I couldn't make it, and I was partially right. I wouldn't make it alone. The power that collective symbiosis holds is just crazy. For the first time, the current challenges didn't feel so unsurmountable. Hearing teachers, searchers, CEOs, and entrepreneurs talk about their awesome actions for the collective good during class made me realize that I wasn't alone. So many inspiring people are already acting at every scale, and the bachelor gives us the opportunity to meet them. This new way to teach also creates the opportunity to conciliate my studies with my commitments outside the university. For example, I was able to co-organize with Salmata a health and wellness forum to sensibilize young people. Designing flyers, contacting partners, and being invested was a huge part for me. But I'm proud because we did so well while studying. My class is also a living experiment of how to cooperate together, even if we do not have the same vision of life. We all join with our proper motivations, and it can be really hard to find balance between environmental and social sensibilities, for example. But debating and maturing ideas collectively made us realize that everything is linked, and we should find a common ground instead of fighting. I can't wait to discover what's next, because I learned so much about myself, my abilities, and the world that I just can't imagine how much I'm going to grow up quickly. You're probably curious now to know what I'm going to do after the bachelor. Well, I am too. This program gives me hope for the future, and even if I can't make a precise idea of my dream job, I know I want to work collectively for a sustainable and greater world. It may seem a bit idealistic, but if I'm not idealistic at my age, then when?
Wow. Sorry, I have a lot of emotion, and I'm really proud of you. So to conclude, so the Bachelor Act is an example of innovation. It's only an example of innovation in higher education. It bridges the gap between traditional academic knowledge and the concrete needs of a rapidly changing world. So education is a key. It's a key lever for transforming society. By training enlightened and engaged citizens, we help build a more just, inclusive, and sustainable European society. So we must see our academic program not only as courses or degrees, but as incubator for the change maker of today and tomorrow. Thank you.
What a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. Very inspiring. Thank you, Aymeric, Samata, and Alicia. Philippe IJsselijn from Odyssey University, please.
Good morning, everyone. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. If we want change, we must be the drivers ourselves for it. And indeed, as Aymeric and Salmata and Alicia just have shown, it's important to engage new change makers, young people. And indeed, those white tigers, we need to wake them up. But we need to look further than someone else. If we think about the wickedness of current-day complex problems, if we think about indeed all the social, environmental, political, economic issues that we have, there is something deeply ingrained about it that's going to require all of us to step up and take up a role, contribute with our knowledge, our skills, our attitudes. That interdisciplinarity is indeed at the core of social innovation. Only together can we change a societal problem. And that is indeed what is in line with what the European Commission considers as social innovation, right? Now, I'm not opening up a can of worms with a discussion on what exactly is social innovation. I am an academic, so yes, I love to define things. But if we can agree on one simple thing, 3 pillars, what social innovation represents: new ideas for products, services, business models, processes, specifically targeted for certain individuals or communities and improving their lives, quality of life, their well-being. And we do this in a systematic way, in a sustainable fashion, so that we can really talk about inclusive and innovative solutions. Now that sounds nice, and these pillars, these characteristics, how do you put this actually into practice? And that is where the European Social Innovation Campus comes into play. It's an Erasmus Plus project that started last year, still is being funded for the next 3 years. And its main ambitions is threefold. Indeed, empowering through education. And that's my own personal philosophy, that if you want to shape the future, one of the best tools we have is education. If you think about indeed the labor market and the skills mismatch, ESSEC is aiming to bring on hands-on practical learning modules for entrepreneurs, for innovators, for managers, for more, on different levels of education. And it aims to build up a European network of academics, government representatives, civil society organizations, business owners. Bring everyone on board, engage them, give them a voice. Let them use their competencies so that indeed together you can create social innovation. We do this through the ESSEC project with several advisory groups, committees, and many, many discussions and workshop sessions. Now for today I was asked to present some preliminary insights. And I don't have that much time to go through everything, so I would love to have a virtual or direct coffee discussion later on. But for the last year, with the research center Sensei, as well as our partners across Europe, we have been analyzing more than 150 academic papers. We have been holding 55 interviews with experts from all corners of society. We have done 18 focus group discussions to understand one thing: how can you create a European social innovation curriculum knowing how much we all have different contexts, different societies, different socio-cultural living or ways of living? We then focused on 3 sub-questions. What needs to be taught? What are those competencies? How can we teach that? And how can we follow up the market later on to see how supply and demand evolves over time? Well, first of all, indeed, those white tigers that we found throughout the literature, there are hundreds of characteristics described as this is necessary for a social innovator to be successful. Whenever you talk about skills, knowledge, or attitudes, you can think of resilience, empathy, indeed business model development, presentation skills, managerial aspects, dealing with administration. We clustered them into 36 meta competencies that represent both transversal skills, no matter what kind of sector the social innovator is working in, they all come up all the time, as well as specialization skills. Indeed, it was mentioned yesterday, maybe government institutions are quite slow to adapt and to learn and to innovate. I can say this as an academic, higher education institutions are equally slow. And integrating social innovation education is not easy, let alone developing something like Aymeric has developed. Kudos to that. We need more of it. There are so many barriers for teachers and professors to integrate this, not just necessarily as a course, but maybe even as a module within already existing courses. And although hard skills, such as, let's say, project management or maybe financial skills are important, we have noticed with all the discussions over the last 6 months with all the different stakeholders that it's more about developing a sustainable and ethical mindset rather than just teaching in a classic traditional way. Indeed, that hands-on, more practical approach is what's going to foster social innovation. And finally, I'm not saying this as an academic, I'm not making publicity here. Several stakeholders have been pointing out that there is some kind of expectancy from higher education institutions. Universities are seen as catalysts for developing an ecosystem that can foster social innovation. I guess it's because, well, we do a lot of research, we do a lot of projects, there is knowledge. But there is also a lot of networking opportunities, a lot of capital, resources that allows social innovators to try, experiment, fail, learn. Something that was mentioned also yesterday as crucial for social innovation. So if there is one message I would like to give you, and to echo also what Aymeric just said, we shouldn't be looking at each other. We shouldn't be looking at what is the government going to do, what is higher education going to do. But we should collectively see this moment as an opportunity, not just as a responsibility, but as an opportunity to foster and support the next generation of change makers. To give the possibility for promising people like Salmata and Alicia to spread their wings and do something better for our society. And to piggyback on what Robert said, the greatest salvation for our society is the belief that we will be able to save it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip, for presenting the preliminary findings from the Erasmus Plus project, ESSEC. Now, how does a single idea activate social change? That is the key question, of course, addressed in the presentations of best practices from the Social Innovation Match database. And it's time to put a spotlight on two more innovative examples. Like yesterday, you can ask questions to the innovators using Slido, so please do. And firstly, we will find out more about a social innovation initiative from Portugal. Just a Change is the name of the initiative, but also the name of the non-profit organization in Portugal dedicated to renovating homes for people in need, thereby rebuilding lives and communities. José, their campaign project was awarded the 2020 Bronze Award for practical and innovative solutions to the current global housing crisis in Portugal. So please welcome José, who will take the floor right now, but talk to us in just a minute. Let me just say something about the second initiative also that's going to be presented, which is the Zekki digital self-assessment tool for young people regarding their well-being, in Finland. And Zekki won the European Social Innovation Competition in 2021, which means that they were recognized as the best social innovation in Europe. The representative here is Reija Paananen. Reija, please join us. And we will hear some explanations about some feedback also from the projects. But first, we will start with watching a small film about Just a Change, and then José, you can give us some more details.
Hello, everyone. I'm José from Just a Change, an organization, as you did saw, that renovates homes of people in housing poverty. In Portugal, more than 400,000 people live in housing poverty. Some examples of what we see on the field are leaking roofs, people without access to electricity, people with something so basic as a toilet. I don't know if you know, but Portugal is the second country in the European Union where the winter mortality rate raises the most in Europe. So our winters are not so cold as in Northern Europe, but our homes are not prepared. And the ones that suffer the most are the most vulnerable, the most poor, and the elderly. What we do these 4 words. Renovating homes, rebuilding lives, because we truly believe that through the renovation, we are giving a new opportunity to this particular beneficiary. And we mobilize volunteers from all across the country. And I don't know if you saw in the video, Mr. Antonio was also painting and joining us. And I brought also Mrs. Adelaide, because our beneficiary is the center of what we do. So we engage with them in every single part of the process. This is an example of a before and after, also in Óbidos, where the movie you saw was made. And I always say that here you don't see the before and after of Mr. Gabriel, who was living here, someone that now is more engaging with his neighbors, with his community. And I want to leave you with just one phrase, one theme, is that our home is the most important place in the world, and we should fight for everyone to have a dignified place to live. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A lot of supporters for your project. Yes. José has a lot of success.
I'm a big supporter as
Yeah,
well.
yes. Reija, may I ask you if you have a question for José now that you've seen the video and heard the explanations?
Yes, thank you, José. I'm impressed. I have a very concrete question for you. How do you link the volunteers, the material suppliers, and the people in need?
So we work in a 4-step methodology. So we identify the cases, the most urgent cases to intervene with municipalities. So we work really closely with local governments at a very small scale. So the municipality, the parish, and almost the priest working with us. So everyone in the community identifies the cases we should intervene. And then we mobilize resources. Here we find local suppliers, local technicians, working always in a local way and having a local impact, small impact. And then we go to the 3rd step, which is intervention. The intervention, I think it's hard to believe, but it's the quickest and the fastest step, because it only takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks maximum to renovate a home like you saw. So it's really, really short. Afterwards, we start a follow-up. So because we believe that the home renovation is just the beginning, and we need to mobilize local communities and local organizations to give specific support to our beneficiaries. For example, Mr. Gabriel, in the house I showed, he's still being followed up with his local parish for food, for health. So these beneficiaries, some of them will need help for life. So we are giving the basic need, a home. But we mobilize the community for giving another follow-up.
Yes.
I don't know if I...
Yeah. Also, I was wondering, so the volunteers that work on the project do need different skill sets, not only the skills to rebuild or renovate a house, but a broader set of skills. Is that correct?
All the volunteers have, each team of volunteers has a captain, like we call it a coordinator, that creates a bridge between the volunteers and the technician. Every house has a technician, because some things, even though volunteers do a lot, they cannot do, for example, electricity or very technical things. So we need to have the technicians for that. So the coordinator makes this bridge. Although the learning curve is very, very fast, and volunteers engage with us, for example, in safety training as well. I believe the most valuable skill set for volunteers, and that we pass through our training to our coordinators, is empathy. Because when you enter a house, and I've entered in many, where the smell is very bad, the conditions are really, really bad, you need to start working and have an action state of mind without judgment. So we give training to our coordinators and to our volunteers to let's just break this cycle of sadness, break this cycle of grief and depression that sometimes we find.
And without prejudice.
Yes, without prejudice.
Okay.
So I would say empathy is the most valuable skill.
Stay with us for one more minute. We will watch the questions on Slido after the video and the presentations from Reija. We'll watch the video from Zekki, the digital tool, first.
Hi, how are you doing? Hey, I'm doing really well. Yeah, but hey, let's meet up someday. Well, yes, good for me. I don't even know how I'm doing. Everyone else seems to be doing super well, and I'm definitely not. Or I don't really even know what's wrong. It feels like I'm completely lost. Maybe it's that my life doesn't seem to have any direction, and it just feels stressful. When everyone else seems to have such a clear idea of what they want, except me. And I'm definitely not going to open up to them and ruin the mood. Health. Well, it's actually pretty good for me. Ability to overcome difficulties? Yeah. Self-esteem? Yeah. That self-esteem, there's probably room for improvement. Developing strengths. Family and trusted friends. Really good. There's really nothing bad there.
Thank you. Good morning. Did it sound familiar to you? Yeah, this was one example, but there are 1/6 of young people, young adults in EU who are facing difficulties on their way to adulthood. This means 14 million. Together with young people, we developed Zekki to help young people to get right kind of support easier and earlier than today. It is a research-based, easy-to-use tool, linking needs and support. At first, you start with a self-assessment well-being quiz, and based on the answers, you get feedback and recommendations about suitable, low-threshold and trustable support. Zekki has impact on young people's well-being and social inclusion. It lowers the threshold for support by encouraging and increasing the awareness of the support possibilities. Young people say that it increases their sense of security. Zekki promotes need-based use of support. It helps young people to figure out their situation and eases the communication of their needs. Zekki have had 200,000 visitors in the first 3 years. It is 1/5 of that age population in Finland. 60% views the support suggestions and 20% moves on to the support. And I feel that these are pretty good numbers. There are many professionals also using Zekki. Young people love Zekki because it's easy, it looks nice, and it's encouraging.
Many professionals use it too. Zekki is highly scalable. Numerous versions, including language versions, of the self-assessment exist already, and currently we are launching Zekki Pro for the professional use. Zekki Pro is a tool for client work and for measurement of well-being and impact. Organizations can have their own Zekkis to collect data. We are also currently working on Zekki work for enhancing the employability of the people with disabilities, and My Zekki app, which supports young people resilience and agency even better. You can go and try Zekki.fi. Unfortunately, it's in Finnish, but the English version is coming later this year. And we are looking for funding and partners willing to launch and operate Zekki in their countries in Europe. Thank you.
Do you have a question for Reija, José?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, what was the main motivation for you to create this?
Yeah. Thanks, José. It's very easy. The young people need. Yeah, I'm originally a researcher. I'm an adjunct professor in social medicine. I have studied very much young people well-being, social exclusion, social inclusion, and we clearly see that the young people needs are not possessed correctly this way. And there are plenty of support available, but the young people don't know about the possibilities, or they can't find the possibilities. And I was asking that, what if our service and organization-oriented system can be organized so that the young people is at the center? Could our services be youth-centered? Could our system work as a youth-centered system? And that's my mission. That's my mission, to change our service system youth-oriented as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Can Zekki also be used by youngsters who are maybe undereducated or who have not much access to technology, to Wi-Fi, to internet?
Yeah, the focus in our development was that the Zekki is so easy that everybody can use it. It's a service designed by that way. But of course, we know that not everybody is able to use it. Well, the professionals can use it. Anybody who works or who are in contact with young people can use it. And
so professionals can use it to help youngsters.
Okay. Yes. Or even you can. You can ask.
The questions. Follow the questions in the app.
What's up? How are you doing? And we have a plain language version, which is coming. We have even more easier version than plain language version. We can use figures, we can use symbols, and we can use speech, videos. So I think there are many possibilities to ease it up.
You told us it's scalable, probably can also be used in other countries. Yeah. Do you think you would need adaptations to use it in other countries? Is there a cultural context that is important for this digital tool?
In principle, I would say it's easy to scale up in other countries, and we are currently working in Romania with Ukrainian refugees to help them to get the support easier. Okay. And we are studying what adaptations might be needed. Of course, you have to be aware of the services regionally or nationally, or the service system. But in principle, that's very easy to adapt in other contexts as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm curious to find out if you had a question for Reija or for José. Can we have a look at the Slido, please? Of course, we don't know for which project specifically it is. Just congratulations, I can see there, that's nice to see. How do you finance it? It's maybe, well, you said that you're looking for partners to finance the development of the tool. Is that a problem? Is that an issue then? Yeah.
Yes, that's an issue, and I was keen to listen to yesterday's speeches, and I totally agree. We have quite much funding when developing new innovations and new ideas, but when we are scaling up, when we are implementing, when we are trying to get the message through, that's the problem, that we don't have any funding for that.
Okay. What about your project, José? Where do you get the money? You work with volunteers, but you need materials, you need all kind of stuff that costs money, of course.
Construction is having the higher inflation of all sectors in our economy. Let's simplify it. We have a 75% revenue from our project comes from business models. So we develop a B2B model where we engage with companies through corporate volunteering. So we sell corporate volunteering because we just use our know-how and knowledge from the construction to do something fun, something different for companies. This is one big part, the B2B part of our business model. The other is the B2G. So the municipalities, as I said, that engage with us and co-create the project, also finance the local projects. Okay. So each project is financed directly with the municipality. And the municipalities have an interest with that because it's a way to solve urgent situations. And not only we have the aspect of the social action, so volunteering is the right way to do it, but also is more efficient, more effective. We spend less money than a for-profit. Since we are a non-profit, we don't have that margin. And basically is that.
Yeah.
That's all we
I'm going to pick up one more question for Reija, which was, I can't see it anymore. It was an ethical question because the youngsters answer the questions in the Zekki tool. What about privacy? Is that an issue you have to take into account? Because you get all those data from young people.
Yes, and we have a whole lot of data existing. But yes, of course, the security is Zekki is totally anonymous. You can't recognize anybody from the answers. Yeah. So it's anonymous data, but still the data and the privacy is very well protected.
Yes, and that also means that you're not going to use the data for research, or?
We are using the data for developing Zekki or for the research purposes, and that's said in.
And that's okay. That's allowed.
Yeah, that's allowed. We ask the permission. Every people who are using Zekki, they have to admit accept
the conditions.
Yes.
Clear. We all know that. We all know that. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, José and Reija, for your insight. Thank you. Now let's dive into the key takeaways from yesterday's workshops, where many of you actively participated. We'll have 7 experts with us on the stage this morning, and for the presentation we have allocated 5 minutes per expert. Some of the experts have led 2 workshops. They will only have 1 slide for both of the workshops together. So after each expert presents that 1 slide with the essence of the workshop outcome, we will open the floor for 1 question from the audience, not via Slido. We will take questions from the room for this one. And if there are no questions, we will probably continue on to the next speaker, as the time is limited. With 12 workshops in total, we have a lot to cover, so we'll keep our focus sharp and concise. But rest assured that the European Competence Centre for Social Innovation will continue to build on those conclusions for further discussions. I would like to invite all of the experts on the stage with me here immediately. Armelle, please, to present the Social Innovation Cup internal workshop and workshop 1. Luc, to present, yes, come forward, please. Yes, Luc, to present the Social Inclusion Cup internal workshop and workshop 2. Agatha, to present, take this seat, please, Armelle.
I'm just wondering, I will need to look.
Yes, but you will see it here. Agatha to present the Employment, Education and Skills Cup, internal workshop and the workshop 3. Rmgaile to present the Material Support Cup, internal workshop and workshop 4. Bettina will present the ALMA Network internal workshop. Nadia to present the Migrant Integration internal workshop and workshop 5. And finally, Erika to present the workshop 6 on Personal Skills Toolbox. Welcome, all of you. Can we have the slide for Armelle, please? There's a lot on the slide, Armelle.
Yes.
We have 5 minutes.
Yes, okay.
Not to stress you, but no,
did.
please, go ahead.
Okay, so you did stress me, actually. Hello. So, 5 minutes to tell you that we had our internal workshop, the Social Innovation Cup, with ESF managing authorities and national competence centers. I mean, that was the vast majority of the audience. The idea was to ask them, we had a learning process over the past 2 years, and at this stage now, what would be useful in terms of learning to progress and better use ESF Plus to support social innovation. We kind of co-create next year's program. And if they ask me more money and more stuff, I don't have. But learning, we can maybe do something together. So they answered and we discussed, and we eventually pointed that we could, they would like, there was a big discussion on financial issues, ESF managing authorities. Each time there was a topic that was raised as something that was interesting and where they would like to learn more, we were asking the others if they would have any solutions or any learning resources that could help. So we were both discussing the issue and gap and need for learning and possible resources. So we went through, I won't go into details, the social innovation course management, how to use the other funds and the other EU programs, how to scale and transfer. They have loads of ideas here. The social impact evaluation that we also started to work at, but now we'd love to go into more practice and work, especially with our colleagues, and just dive into your policy fields to see what are the indicators, how you assess and evaluate in the various fields and projects that you implement. And so the conclusion is that, yes, we need to reinforce collaboration to learn more and to progress with the other COPs. We asked them very quickly at the end, so it's just to give you an indication. 11 mentioned that they would love to cooperate more and co-create an event or something with the COP on social inclusion. Look, your Agota 4 mentioned your COP, and 2 for migration. I don't have more details at the moment. We will dig a bit more and we will discuss and make proposals. And the SIM validators feel a bit lonely and they would love to have their own network and space, like the national competence centers, to discuss, exchange, and that could actually improve a lot the use of the SIM database. That's for the first workshop. And the second one was a joint workshop with ALMA Network, because ALMA is about scaling a successful innovation throughout Europe, and it was already done, and it's now even more supported by an EU level call. So the idea was to have 3 different experiences, successful social innovations, ALMA at the center, Territoire Zéro Chômage de Longue Durée, Zero Long-Term Unemployment Territories, got it, plus Papillon. All these social innovations have been tested successfully and scaled. So it was interesting to see that despite the differences of target groups of policy fields, long-term unemployment, poverty energy, youth mobility and social inclusion, really different, what they have in common, what were the challenges that they faced while they were scaling in the same country or across border, and if they had any solutions. It was super interesting, really. The debate was very, very lively, and strangely enough, they did not very much focus on technical and financial issues. They much more discussed about the motivation, the conviction, the involvement. And I will, you have a list here, and we know it, but I would prefer to focus on the end, because basically they said that yes, you need to be patient, resilient, stubborn, even punk, they said. It's not easy, but you can do it. If you believe in your solution, it will take time, but if you do believe in your solution, so it's really talking about soft skills and mentality and state of mind. I think that was a crucial message. And try to think why not and test instead of why. And that was also a nice conclusion. Mm-hmm. I made it in 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does any one of you have a question for Armel, or did you read something on the slide that you would like to have some more information about? I suppose you can talk to Armel later also during lunch, but I don't see any hands. Okay, then we'll go to the next expert, Luc. You had the social inclusion internal workshop and workshop Don't Do It Alone, exploring innovative approaches to implement the partnership principle. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Wim. Is this working? Is it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Indeed, the first workshop was about, well, our own COP, our own community of practice, the social inclusion COP. And we have 3 objectives with that workshop. 1, looking back, making a sort of a SWOT analysis of what we did so far in 24 and what we still have on our agenda. Second objective was mapping the needs of managing authorities and project developers for the time to come. And thirdly, using these 2 elements, the SWOT and the needs, to build the work plan for 25. And I can share the most important conclusion with you at the very start of my presentation here. 25 will be even better than 24. And that's a good start, isn't it? But no, more seriously, for the work plan, the building blocks are the group asked to invest more time and resources in networking, in sharing, in building platforms, in communicating, so doing the real COP work, exchanging, learning, discussing, and that's what we will do for sure. Second element that was brought up, and I think that is important, we developed already a lot of material, toolkits, guidance, recommendations, and so on, but we should maybe spend more time on promoting that material and learning how to use it. So using existing material was a second recommendation from the group. Working on the involvement of the people concerned, and that came back over and over again. How can we better involve the target group, and how can we make it easier, simpler for all actors to be involved? One of the key success factors that was made clear. A holistic approach was also promoted. Until now, we work for or homelessness, or the institutionalization and community living, or child poverty. There was a strong call in the group to work more holistic across sectors and across target groups. Even working on aging was suggested, so that is what we will take into consideration. And then there was also a call for working with the COP employment, but I saw in your overview that there might be other opportunities as well. So conclusion on that first workshop, 25 will be even better than 24. And then The second workshop was also organized with another community of practice, and we zoomed in on the partnership principle. And at the beginning of that workshop, we did a sort of sounding, and from that sounding, we learned that at least 70% of the audience struggles with the implementation of the partnership principle, which is so an important principle, because when you work in close cooperation with your partners, you understand the issues better, you understand the needs of the target group better, you understand your partners better, and all that leads to better outcomes, to more efficient, effective interventions. So we have to work on partnership and further develop that. And during the debate, there was a sort of it evolved from saying, don't do it alone, to don't fake it. And I must confess, for a moment, it felt like being on the film set of Emmanuel. But no, this is serious. We should not do it alone, and we should not fake it.
Emmanuel is an erotic movie, yeah?
It is an erotic movie, yes, yes indeed, yes indeed.
Interesting workshop.
Yeah, well, it was a fascinating workshop, yes indeed, Wim. And you should not do it alone, and you should not fake it. Partnership. Back to serious, maybe. Key elements are a shared vision and commitment. It is important to invest in developing that shared vision, to agree on the issues, to agree on what we want to tackle together, and then commitment of the different partners. Also stressed was by many participants, when we work together with partners, do it from the very start. There are many different ways of involving your partners, of involving end users, of involving the people you want to work with and for, but do it from the start, so that they feel part of the story, and that you can work on real co-creation. There are different levels, different partners, and that leads to identifying the partnerships and the roles in an efficient way as well. So you should invest time on that as well. It was also brought up, and that is something we should not ignore, I think. It was brought up that there might be tension between funders and partners. They have, of course, different roles to play, and that should be managed as well. For the future, and that is just one conclusion for tomorrow and the years to come, is that we need more practical examples on what works and how we can make the partnership principle really work. But the overall conclusion is, don't do it alone and don't fake it.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions for Luc? Over there, there's a question. You will get a microphone.
I'm Mariana. I'm retired EU official, but I'm still involved in these communities of practice. And one of the key elements that I have noticed is that there are basically platforms for the managing authorities. And one of our success stories in the world of the European Social Fund communities of practice in the past has been the fact that we attracted many organizations working on the ground, NGOs, but also the social partners, the labor and management organizations. And this time around, it seems that these have somehow been absent from the discussions. Apart from those that are partners in this initiative, the others are not involved. And in areas like inclusion, but also employment, the migrants are key for the implementation of social innovation, because as it was said, this social innovation comes from the ground. And we have seen that many things we have done in the European Social Fund, despite the fact that they were not labeled as social innovation, were social innovations. In particular, for example, I would refer to the deinstitutionalization, which is a new way of looking at the different, the needs of the people and caring about the people. So I would plead for more attendance from NGOs and social partners in the communities of practice.
Okay. You want to comment on that, Luc? Or?
Yes, thank you very much, Marianne, for making that remark. It is indeed important, and you have a point when saying that the relation from this community of practice with the trade unions is maybe less developed, or there is room for improvement. I agree for 200% on that. On the cooperation with the other networks, I can guarantee you that we invest time and energy in it. We work together with the European platform on homelessness. The 4th of December, please pencil it in your agenda. We have an online event on deinstitutionalization and community living, and we developed that together with the disability platform, with the expert group on deinstitutionalization, EDF, the European Disability Forum, and many, many other organizations. The event we had last week on child poverty was developed in close cooperation with Eurochild and with other organizations. So we try indeed to reach out to these networks and work together with them, because they are absolutely essential partners. Like a project partner has to work with the local organizations. We, as a COP that has a sort of a European ambition, we have to work with the European actors, the European platforms, not only the European Commission and the member states, but also with European NGOs and so on.
Okay, I want to come back very briefly to one of the conclusions of the workshop on the COP on social inclusion, because I saw Bettina and Nadia nodding when you were saying we need to spend more time on the core of working in the COP, investment time and resources in networking, sharing, meeting, building platforms. You both were nodding. Does that mean that it'll come back in your presentation? Okay, so we don't need to comment about that right now. You'll come back to that during your presentation. Then we'll go to Agota to present the Employment, Education and Skills internal workshop and workshop 3 about finding out what really works in social innovation.
Thank you. So I noticed we're gradually removing the letters from the presentation, so probably the last one only have one word, but we'll see how it goes. So I had 2 workshops to work on, and the first one was on employment, education and skills, our COP. And I was really happy to have Mariana's comment, because I can confirm that we have worked on the cooperation between NGOs and public authorities for the past 1.5 years already. And in this workshop, we focused especially on how to involve NGOs in training. And one lesson of the workshop that I would like to highlight is that we had a large and very active audience, which confirmed that this is a relevant topic and of interest to not only our members, the members of our COP, but also more broadly. We actually had, I think, 1/3 of our audience coming from NGOs, representing NGOs or umbrella organizations. And we will continue on the topic. We'll work on a study looking at the examples across Europe and the lessons we can draw from that, and also probably future events, probably showcasing the good practices. And I would just like to bring to you one highlight that came out of the discussions of this workshop, which is concerning the trade-off between flexibility and formality. And the issue there is that we want to bring in, we want to engage NGOs because for several reasons, but one major reason is that they are more flexible than public agencies in training or in donor organizations. And we need this flexibility because they can provide training in a more individualized way, and also because they can change more quickly to follow up the changing needs of the economy and society. Now, how do you engage NGOs without them losing this flexibility? So there's a huge issue in how we create the conditions so that public authorities can be assured that the NGOs live up to the standards, that they provide their services at the right level of quality, and they can be monitored, etc., but at the same time allowing them to keep the flexibility in their working. And we actually have, moving to the other workshop, we actually had part of the solution there, I think. So in the other workshop, we discussed not so much the tools and techniques of evaluation, but more the concerns about counterfactual evaluation and how you can come around these concerns. But one idea that emerged at the workshop was that you can actually use, one way you can use impact evaluations and the evidence that comes from impact evaluations on the effectiveness of particular projects or particular providers is that if you focus on having this information, if you know who is getting you the right outcomes, you can allow them a lot more flexibility in how they achieve those outcomes. So linking back to the previous workshop, if you want to keep flexibility but at the same time keep quality, rely more on evaluations and good measures, reliable measures of impact and outcome. And maybe the last thought on that, coming out of that workshop, is that yes, there are concerns about how to do counterfactual evaluations, there are ethical concerns, there are resource concerns, and we also had a nice discussion on why you actually need them if you know that you have a proper theory of change and you know what the outcomes should be. But I think we probably agree that even in that case, it's often useful to have evaluations, especially if you don't have all the world or all the money in the world, and you have to decide between perfectly good projects. You need to know which is even better than all the others. But most of these concerns can be tackled by careful design. And we had 2 organizations in our workshop who offered practical support to whoever among you would like to go on and implement counterfactual evaluations. We had representatives of the European Commission and their help desk who were there to help, and we also had an expert from EMPL Europe who's happy to help. And we didn't have them in the workshop, but I'm sure they would be happy to help. We also have the OECD represented, and you can return to them if you need practical advice on evaluations. Thank you.
Thank you, Agota. A question over there as well.
Again, me. So, but one of the issues that we discussed as well, and I think there was a consensus in the group, was the need to be able to measure social innovation. Social innovation is about social change, and this cannot be done with indicators that we currently have. So it is important that we continue to work based on what the Commission has already done on developing soft indicators. And this should be a work that should be done throughout all the communities of practice. This could be something that would remain as a success story from the communities of practice, because it concerns all the areas in which we are involved. And since we have evidence that already 18 member states have used this type of measurement in their programs at national or regional level, there is some ground on which we can build throughout all the communities of practice.
Agda, you want to comment?
Yes, fully agree. Thank you.
Lemgaile, you're presenting the Material Support COP, Internal Workshop, and Workshop 4, Innovating Partnerships.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. So, in our COP on Material Support workshop, first of all, we acknowledge that digital transformation really changes the way how we provide material support and of course beyond. And just recently we had a wonderful example of that in Finland, right? And it still offers a lot of great opportunities to enhance our social interventions, but of course it has a number of its own challenges. So the topic of digital skills have been re-emerging in a number of our COP meetings. So with a concern that digital divide might also, create even a bigger exclusion in this process. So we thought that it's a great opportunity to explore this topic more in this forum. So first of all, we had a brainstorming session where we identified 4 main challenges. So first is limited access to digital tools, still like computers, smartphones, and even internet in some cases. Then inadequate training for staff or beneficiaries, as well as complicated technology infrastructure, which sometimes makes it hard to use it to anyone actually. And the last one was the lack of essential and digital skills, which prevents us to fully utilize the tools that we have. So we took a step further and tried to identify sub-causes or contributing factors to that. And afterwards, we thought about some strategies or solutions to address these challenges. So we had a few, but just to name a few takeaways. So first of all was identifying the gaps and taking a moment to really find out what are the challenges in the regions and different countries, and also keeping in mind that this is also an issue not of the end beneficiaries, but also in the staff of partner organizations or public authorities also. The next one was securing resources and investing, first of all, into the access of digital tools and ensuring ability to connect. And then, of course, into training, community work, and building those capacities to navigate those tools. And lastly, innovative approaches was mentioned. And for example, there was an example from Greece where they use mobile units which go around remote territories, and they provide support with any digital tools or offer training, and of course it can be used in very different ways. So that's very shortly, but let me assure you that we had a very productive session, and thanks for all very hardworking COP members. And the next one, I think, is a very important one, and it was mentioned many times today and yesterday, that every intervention or social innovation, for that matter, starts with a goal to meet the needs of the end beneficiaries. And of course, it ends also with impact measurement, or hopefully a meaningful change in those people's lives. But having said that, in many cases, it's still innovative in itself having end beneficiaries at the same table as equal stakeholders or partners, so hence the name Innovating Partnerships. But in our workshop, we had a very good exchange on some good practices, not only in different countries, but I would say in all the levels. So I will also use this time to make a spotlight on these wonderful practices. So first of all, we had EAPN Europe, where they presented their long years of work on lobbying for and with people experiencing poverty by engaging them as key stakeholders in the decision-making in EU processes. Then we had Restos du Cœur from France presenting their national initiatives, namely the Consultative Council of Welcomed People, where people in precarious situations can create and monitor and evaluate policies that concern them. And what is important, that it is recognized as an official consultative body by the French institutions. And also we had a very interesting examples at the Restos du Cœur itself. For example, organizing tasting sessions on the food that is provided in the framework of ESF+. So that was really fascinating for us all. Then we had EAPN Portugal, and they made a presentation on their well-developed tools to enhance participation, but namely citizens' councils, which are established in each of 19 districts in Portugal, and which are made up people who have experience of poverty or are experienced, and where they have a place to make their voices heard. And lastly, we had Matulaica Centras and their presentation on community-based services, and where we had their interesting presentations not only on their social workshops, which help to enhance their skills and help them earn some money, but also an important takeaway was the importance of service and information adaptation to the needs and capabilities of the end beneficiaries. So thank you again for all the speakers, and again the reminder that participation is a crucial and it's a key if we really want to know the real challenges and to make real impact into people's lives. And there are many ways to do it.
Thank you for your very clear presentation, Ringaile. Any questions for her? No? Then we will continue. Oh, you do? Oh, sorry. Didn't see you here.
Can I come in with?
Yes, of course.
Is it working? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Just 2 points, because partnerships and bringing in the target group in the work is also very close to the work what we try to do in the social inclusion group. And I would like to make 2 remarks. One, if we do that, we should not fake it, that is clear, but we have to adapt the working methods and the language. We are all used to sit in rooms and to discuss. In most cases, that doesn't work with the end users of certain activities. So we have to adapt it, and we have to adapt our language. In the project from Finland, I think they talked about using easy to read, easy language. That is a very important but only first step to be able to work with end users. And then I would like to share a little experience. We had a field visit in Prague a few weeks ago, and in one of the organizations we visited, it were end users, people from the target group that took the floor themselves, expressing their needs and discussing with the visitors from all over Europe. And after that meeting, one of the managing authorities came to me and said, from now on, I will never draft a call anymore without having had a chat with the end users first. Because it is so important to understand the needs, to understand the language, to really know what type of issues we want to address, that you have that conversation first. If you do it after drafting the call, then it's too late, because the machinery is ready, the tone is set, the scene is set.
Yeah.
Sorry for coming in, but it's
clear,
very important, I think.
Also yesterday, I believe, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yes, I would like to add, because I was very quick, so I did not detail, but here I'd like to make 1 point, because it's something that we all share, and we all agree about the fact that end beneficiaries should be better involved from the very beginning.
But it's not easy to do. It's
no.
Not inviting them in a group discussion is not the solution.
No.
You have to go to them, talk to them in their own...
But maybe one difference with our COP is that we work with ESF managing authorities, and very often, in fact, we discuss that beyond all these statements to which we all agree, why doesn't it work? And sometimes it's because you've got technical and financial problems. And I can share with you that one of our first event next year, will be about that, because in some countries, you've got end users participating to the design of the calls, and it is actually one important step in the social innovation process, okay? For all the reasons you gave, Luc, and we agree. And hence, after that, there's a conflict of interest.
Of course, yeah.
And they can't participate, and they can't apply to the call, which is actually designed for them, which becomes a bit paradoxical and quite curious.
But also this conflict of interest you can manage. You can organize methods around it so that you avoid this conflict of interest. So, of course, you cannot talk to the people that then hand in a project
We
in
agree.
that call. That is clear. You have to find methods to deal with that.
That's exactly the point,
And
and
they are
that's
available.
exactly, and some are available, but we are very aware that the situations are super different across the 20 member states. The culture of work and the culture of audit as well is super different. And I think one key progress we would make next year is really to have an event and to organize something with the people working on the audit and control. I know I keep on repeating this, but these two worlds at some stage need to discuss and understand. They need to understand what we do, and we need to understand their constraints and their objectives, and maybe together we can manage to make progress.
Okay,
Super.
thank you for adding that, Luc and Armel. Bettina.
So, can you hear me? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, the ALMA network is a bit different from all the other COPs because it has a very, very concrete and concise function and objective, and that is to encourage member states and providing very practical support for those member states who are implementing the ALMA projects. So it's a much more narrow theme, but on the other hand, it tackles many of these topics or challenges mentioned by you, the colleagues from the other COPs. So just as a very short summary, it is an active inclusion initiative using mobility as a tool. That's the different to Erasmus+, and you still have to point that out because there is much confusion about it. So the purpose is to empower vulnerable young needs and reintegrate them into employment training and further education, and it's not about vocational training. And as said before, the network has the function then to provide practical guidance to those who are implementing the ALMA projects. And for the workshop session yesterday, we had two groups of participants. We had, on the one hand, the ALMA network partners, very much involved in all the work and the work program we've done in the past. And we had other participants here from other COPs who are interested in ALMA. So from this, we tried to combine two objectives with each other. So on the one hand, then to explain the ALMA initiative, its core elements, which is this work-related, supervised work-related learning experience embedded in a whole project cycle and with ongoing pedagogical support. And we explained the ALMA network activities and the work done in the work program here from 2023-2024. And for network members, we hope that would give them the opportunity to also review what has been done and then come up with new proposals for the next work program. So similar to what you did, Luc, but I think you had your COP in once, and we had to somehow combine those two maybe different interests. So as to the content, we started, there is one ALMA central call, which is meant as a pilot for those member states who hadn't yet launched mobility calls under ALMA, and to test how it works and use the results of this project and this central call for then launching calls under the national and regional ESF Plus under shared management. And there was a discussion of core elements and challenges we had during the network meetings. And this was, for instance, on the definition of vulnerable needs, because this is a very, very big group with very different groups in it. We had many discussions on finance SEO, maybe not yesterday, Amel, in this workshop, but scaling up in the network meetings, because how to calculate the costs and how to set up this financial scheme for the project cycle, measuring soft outcomes, how and impact measuring was also one theme. And then it was rounded up by 2 practical examples from Greece and from Slovakia, who were telling their experiences. They had started their project last year and were telling us about their experiences there. We then divided in subgroups, and for the ALMA network partners, the task was to look back at the work program in 2024, identify the gaps there, and collect some proposals for the work program in the next year. And we will continue this in our next meeting in November in Athens. And one of the key elements, and therefore I was nodding, was a very strong request to have more space to exchange good practices and to learn from each other. It was also some ideas here, building subgroups for specific themes, because also in the network, participants are on different levels. Some are very experienced with launching these calls from the past, and others are newcomers. And so sometimes the interests are different, and we could better provide then or deal with that when in subgroups, and also subgroups to specific questions. For instance, if the project is only being implemented by one organization, the Public Employment Services, which is very much different from projects where you have a call and projects apply for that. For the other participants, they had the chance to answer questions, and at each table were some ALMA practitioners who could answer these questions and clarify specific topics. And the objective was to find out if there are some with interest in more interest in ALMA, and perhaps planning to implement ALMA in their region or in their country, and what kind of support they would need for that. So this was a short summary of the workshop.
Thank you very much, Bettina. Again, any question for Bettina? Then we continue on to Nadia's presentation on the Migrant Integration COP internal workshop and the workshop 5, Approaching and Understanding Diversity. Nadia.
I've always been the rebellious child at home, and I've just been laughing, sitting here, thinking I'm the only one who doesn't have loads of words on my slide. But I promise I checked it with my wonderful partners, Erica and York, who's sitting out there, who's quite the academic mind, that it was fine to have a photograph rather than text.
Absolutely.
So sorry, I'm feeling like a child in adult clothes kind of thing. Well, it's no mystery to anybody that Erica and I have been kind of going on the importance of nurturing emotional skills. So it's like this photograph is a bit of a statement of what happened today at the beginning of the session, where we went back to everyday life interactions, such as greetings, and that's what's happening there too, of our wonderful members from Greece, kind of trying to enact different greetings from different cultures. And which ones are familiar to us, and how do we grapple with familiarity? And then how do we actually adapt when we're not familiar with the other person's behavior, cultural framework, and whatever else? So that was very much kind of setting the tone to how we wanted to bring back the conversations about migrant integration yesterday in the workshop. And we were very lucky to have a lot of our co-members very actively kind of participate throughout. So what we did is we looked at practices of welcoming and inclusion, applying to the work not only with others, but also kind of drawing upon practices in our own everyday lives, because again, we think that whatever you bring as a personal kind of individual in your own journey into welcome and inclusion really should be reflected in all of our work. We do it out of passion mostly. I think it kind of shows in our case especially. And how does that translate into effectiveness for ourselves, for our own communities, for our families, and how do we see migrants within our own communities and our own kind of environment. So that was very much kind of setting the tone. Of course, we did the serious work as well, kind of conforming into having a look at our work program and trying to co-develop for the next stage. We've been on it for 1.5 years exactly. We're the most recent co-op, so we've now had enough time to have a look at the main topics from 2023, 2024, and we discovered that in our workshop, it sounded like most people would agree that the topics are still very relevant. However, there is space and need for some new topics to cater for things like political participation, to cater for things as sort of having a look at mechanisms and different ways and needs in family reunification, for example. So I think one of our main takeaways yesterday, as we were kind of looking at this again, is that we were very pleased that the co-op as such is kind of coming together, also looking beyond the first stages of integration. So 1 year ago this time, we were looking at sort of, new arrivals versus longer term, and actually this time we're looking at what else can we humanly do to make people part of a society rather than just look at language learning as such. So I think that's kind of a part of that. And I'm going to move on to the second workshop, which Jörg and I facilitated together. It was the first time we were working together, so it was a wonderful experience to us. And again, you're going to see an image coming up in a second. Promise it wasn't subversive. And I would like to use the next minute to ask you to pick out those pens. I've been looking at people in the audience. I think most of you are holding a pen and a piece of paper or one of your lovely social innovation initiative booklets. And what I would like you to do very quickly, this is not an arts competition, just think of a piece of bread. You're probably in need of one by now. It's lunch soon. So think of a piece of bread you like to get to your house in your day-to-day, and very quickly just draw it as rough as you can on a piece of paper. So can you please use the next 10 seconds to very quickly draw on your pen and paper? If you're my generation, maybe some people have pads to do it. Just put it down on a piece of paper. Again, it's not an arts competition. We won't be evaluating ours.
Mine.
I won't look at yours, Bettina, I promise. And what I'm going to ask you to do next is show it to your neighbor and check that you've, what do they look similar? Do you think they might smell similar? Do you think they might be made? I'm loving your bread, Bettina. It's definitely not very similar to mine.
Just in Belgium, this shape.
That's a croissant.
So
in Hungary, we have something that looks like a croissant, but it's thinner.
But yours
much
look
thinner,
much
and
more
it's
like
mine's like black bread with sunflower seeds.
Is my microphone working?
We lost the audience now.
It's just like a bun.
I love it. That's participation in the happening, you see.
In croissant, yeah.
Been talking about participation so much.
I think it doesn't exist
let's just do it. So if I can, I don't think my microphone is working anymore.
Okay,
if
shall
I
we listen to
can.
Naya again?
What do you call it? The
Please.
long thin bread?
baguette.
Baguette, yeah. It's a bit like a baguette.
If I can grab everybody's attention again. Thank you, Luke. If I can grab everybody's attention again. Can you put your hand up if your neighbor's bread was different to yours?
I guess a bit different.
Okay, so we've got about half of the audience having a different bread, right? I'd say about 55, maybe 60% of you put your hand up. And I'll show you mine. It's my late dadimas, that means grandmother in Gujarati, which is one of my languages. It's the chapati she used to cook every morning for breakfast. So I don't know if anybody else has it. I'd love to see somebody who's got it, because that would make a bit of cultural resonance. But the point there being, yesterday, we were looking at diversity as a fact of life, and the fact that even in simple concepts such as bread, we would all be thinking and creating an image of something which is substantially different. So point here being diversity is a fact of life, the way Jörg and I framed it yesterday, a natural phenomena rather than something to solve. But the beauty of it is the exchange you very naturally created in 20 seconds as you were probably kind of, trying to make it pretty. And how do we bring that to our day-to-day? So natural phenomenon that occurs in every single family. And we looked at how does that, again, transport into your own organizations? What does it look like when you're looking at your colleagues, so staff, beneficiaries as well? And are we seeing in those groups the same diversities we each include, whether it is age, whether it's kind of 3 or more genders we see or not in society, whether it is family compositions, nuclear or extended, whichever kind of diversity and intersectionalities you see in your day-to-day, and then having a look at whether there are any measures or any practices your organization, your managing authority, your NGO already uses to work with those diversities. So to better understand them and actually turn it into an investment that is called inclusion, because that needs to have commitment and investment, whether it's inclusion, pluralism, whatever ethics you would use for it. So our objective was not to offer a solution. In an hour and a half, it would be absolutely impossible. As we said it yesterday, we wouldn't call a community nurse to build a bridge to cross every day in our city with a river. So therefore, there is that element of kind of remembering diversity is not something we learn in an hour and a half, but it was our mission, in a sense, to raise awareness, to make sure that we understand that there is no one size fits all, because we're all different. We all eat different breads at home. It might smell different. We don't necessarily know who our baker is, or maybe you bake it yourself. That would be quite curious to hear the recipes. But generally, how can we actually have a look at a basic model of having 4 to 5 pillars to look after the policies, to look after the HR, to look after how we're implementing, but mostly how do we train ourselves with those critical questions with new lenses to see the world as a diverse place. And that'd be it. With the post-it note, by the way, was one of the results of our of our workshop. We had lovely Felipe, who was on stage earlier on, who actually wrote this to us at the end. So we thought it was a beautiful ending to what we'd lived through together.
Beautiful.
So that'd be it.
Nice metaphor you used. Any questions for Nadia? Then I'm happy to give the floor to the last presenter, Erika, to present workshop 6 about personal skills toolbox. Please, Erika.
Just to start, if Nadia felt childish with that photo, you can imagine how I feel right now. I'm very proud, actually, to be the most colorful one. So what we discussed, first of all, there was 2 aims. There was one, in a way, which was my personal aim, and I think this is really important to bring in the passion that you have in the work that you do. And it was to introduce this topic of personal skills and to have a space to discuss it. This was something which I really wanted to put forward. The second aim, a bit more practical, was to identify the challenges and the tools needed to deliver inclusive and accessible, but truly accessible, services. So we did this by first starting with some self-reflection and awareness. And I really want to thank the participants for allowing this to happen, and for being quite open and honest, too. I had really good feedback in it. We spoke about, what do we bring to the table? How receptive are we? What systematic changes need to happen? And we discussed about narrative, prejudice, where we also did an activity, which was really interesting to see how people kind of judged others with no information. Standpoint, representation, intersectionality, so all of these discussions came in. Then we spoke about the personal skills toolbox, which is actually very simple. Now it's about the social skills, cross-cultural skills, basically having emotional intelligence. So it is not this complex thing that we need to worry too much about. It's quite basic. And with it comes in the principle of empathy, which actually we have been really hearing a lot throughout, even in the socially innovative projects. I think we also saw a concrete example of an empty project in a job center. Amira presented it. And basically, because sometimes I think they were a bit uncomfortable and not knowing, like, okay, let's write a project, let's do something more concrete that we're used to. But we were literally just speaking about being a good human, as simple as that. I think what came out of this was how we can take these reflections to work, and then with the right emotional intelligence, how you can transfer kind of these ideas to the right people, because of course people receive it differently, so this is really important to be able to send a message in different ways. There were a lot of buts, not but as in, but it's difficult, but this. But obviously, I think these challenges are in fact, in a way, how a lot of socially innovative initiatives start, no? By finding all these difficulties. An observation which I saw was that a lot of people, I think, at first were not comfortable with this topic. They weren't comfortable with the idea of bringing emotions to work and maybe not understanding why. And also, I think there is still, unfortunately, a negative connotation when we speak about emotions, and may I dare say a bit too feminine, too, still in the discussions. I also saw that the group was divided in two groups, depending on age, and there I felt like the discussion that was coming out from each group was quite different, which was really interesting also to see in this whole concept of diversity, you know, and representation, and how in a way grouping people in certain groups brings out a certain narrative too. So I think it's something we really need to reflect upon. And then that basically, I think, personal skills is really, and even empathy, it's not so much about training. So I think people would have loved to come to see a personal skills toolbox. I give them the training plan, how to do it, how to achieve it, and checkbox, checkbox. It's not this. It's about living it. It's about an organizational principle and culture. And ultimately, which was also echoed in what Nadia said, it's in a way an investment in everyone's well-being. So it takes a bit of work, obviously, and time, but I think with the openness, we can achieve it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any question for Erika? No? I'd like to repeat that, of course, the European Competence Centre for Social Innovation, will continue to build on these conclusions from the workshops. But for now, I'd like to thank you all for presenting the conclusions and the hard work from you all from yesterday. Thank you, Armel, Luc, Agota, Remgaile, Bettina, Nadia, and Erika. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we are going to hear one last presentation from the Social Innovation Match Database, and that final presentation takes us to Ireland. In this presentation, we will explore a social innovation initiative implemented by West Cork Development Partnership. This non-profit organization is dedicated to promoting social, community, and economic development in the West Cork region in Ireland through various inclusive and sustainable initiatives. And Fergal Conlon will tell us more about this initiative after the video about Time Bank Ireland.
The West Cork Development Partnership, through the SICAP programme, has supported the establishment of a time bank project in West Cork, Ireland. The Social Inclusion and Community Activation Programme, SICAP, is a national programme delivered throughout Ireland, part funded by the ESF. SICAP provides support to tackle poverty and social exclusion at a local level through engagement and partnerships between disadvantaged individuals, community organisations, and public sector agencies. Time Bank is an excellent example of social innovation. Time Bank is an independent charitable organisation established in 2016. Our support is involved helping volunteers with the technical operation of the project, technology, governance, funding, marketing, and achieving partnerships with key stakeholders. Time Bank is a group of people who help and support each other by sharing services, skills, talents, and knowledge. Time Bank's vision is of an interconnected community where meaningful relationships strengthen resilience, solidarity, and prosperity. Members provide services voluntarily, enabling them to give and receive time and no money is exchanged. Through this exchange, Time Bank appreciates the value of every member and recognises all have needs as well as gifts to share. It supports basic needs to be met that mitigates deprivation and stress, resulting in a better quality of life and stronger connections among citizens. Every person has something to offer, and all time is valued equally. The system is based on empowerment, positive esteem, and appreciation of all. There is no hierarchy and no stigmatization. These traits are a huge factor in its success. The impact of the Time Bank during the COVID pandemic was exceptionally deep. The reach of the project at that time was particularly notable, where it successfully engaged with a number of very vulnerable and hard-to-reach candidates, achieving a profound positive impact on their lives. To capture the quality of this effort, West Cork Development Partnership commissioned a social impact analysis in 2023. This report forms the basis of our case study here at the Social Innovation Forum 2024. In our report, we demonstrate how Time Bank successfully engaged with a large number of vulnerable people in the community who were not receiving supports from any other services. We describe individual stories and personal feedback. We captured the scale of the impact and conducted a social return on investment, demonstrating a 16-to-1 return. Time Bank is a proactive response to a number of societal challenges. There is a persistent reduction in social and community interaction in society, a reduction in social capital. Stranger danger drives a fear of litigation. There's much less likelihood that people will ask neighbours for a favour or assistance with a simple task. There are cost of living challenges and difficulties to find service providers at affordable costs. We do recognise that Time Bank services are not a replacement for professional services, and expectations must be revised accordingly. Migration, changing family patterns and housing circumstances mean that there are more people living in isolation without extended networks. Time Bank provides a solution to these societal challenges through a structured pairing process with checks, balances, insurance, membership induction, and a record of the timeshare. Time Bank is not a new project. Time Bank operates successfully all over the world in many countries, but has not yet achieved a foothold in Ireland. Our vision is to support new Time Banks to be established throughout Ireland and to bring the benefits of this great social innovation to our country. Thank you.
I believe, Fergal, that you were happy to take questions right away, or do you want to say something first?
I just don't mind saying there was lots of talk about using existing projects that exist and taking them further, if you like, and there's an example of one. We don't claim to have invented Time Bank. It exists very successfully all over the world. It just hadn't been in Ireland, and so we had the opportunity to amend it slightly to our circumstances, but bring it to the local area.
Yes. Questions from you by Slido, please, for this one. What makes Time Bank effective as a social innovation?
What Time Bank has achieved, which certainly we noted, was its reach. And it's something, again, I was reflecting on throughout the few days, that when we looked at what had happened in Time Bank after the COVID pandemic, is there was a number of people that had their lives dramatically transformed through their engagement in Time Bank. But those same individuals could have, but chose not to engage in other services that were available to them. And I couldn't understand why, because to be fair, there were pretty decent services, no service is perfect, but there would have been services available to those individuals that could have made a difference to improve their lives. But for one reason or another, they weren't availing of them. I mentioned the hard-to-reach individuals in the presentation. And my feeling is, or certainly the report proves it, was that it's the empowerment that participating in Time Bank provides. So as well as you having your needs met by your peers in the community, you also are empowered to believe that you have something to offer. So instead of this hierarchy of status, if you're a beneficiary of a typical social or community service, where you're a beneficiary or a service user and they're the provider, in the Time Bank you join a club of your peers, where you can, you are, even in your if when you join the club, you are supported to acknowledge that you will have something to offer. Many people at the point of low self-esteem believe they have nothing to offer. and will say, well, I can't clean my house, I can't clean my windows, my garden is a state, can you get me something to help? And during the registration process, we will support that person with the empowerment that even the smallest thing that they can do, maybe walk a dog, maybe teach some traditional language to someone in the locality, maybe help out with some cooking or teach somebody how to cook a traditional bread, which would be very nice. So no matter how small it is, the participation in the club allows you to feel that you have something to offer while you're also a person in need. And that dynamic to me was dramatically different than the typical hierarchical approach of service user and service provider. And to me, that was the reason why we reached people who otherwise we would not have reached.
Yeah.
That made it very innovative.
And that is necessary also in 2024.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you have any questions? Let's take a look. How, again, the question about financing, how do you finance the management of Time Bank, and what is the motivation of a volunteer?
Really interesting. Like Time Bank in various manifestations can be considered an alternative currency. It's about providing hours, and there's a management system. It's a very simple database. It's an online database. And the people behind it, the people who are working in the committee, are quite radical in their outlook, and funnily enough, choose not to engage with the state to receive funding, or to date have chosen not to. So they run a small charity shop in the community where they receive donations and people volunteer their time to if you like, recycle local products. And with that, then they can pay for the database, which is all the only real cost, database and insurance. The rest of it is purely voluntary. And but it's interesting, we've been trying to scale the project. We operate in a small part of Ireland, in the southwest of Ireland, in West Cork. One of the projects that we have going forward is to scale it, but that will require state resources, and there's a huge dilemma within the organisation as to whether they want to compromise their very existence as an independent and radically independent organisation in order to access state resources to be able to scale, or not. And at the moment it's not, funny enough, but that may change.
Yes. What was the most valuable learning from implementing an existing social innovation into your local context?
Well, certainly, like, again, the fact that they exist, like, and again, I would agree with lots of people around the room, there's an awful lot of really good ideas out there, and in my career, I am a community development worker. I support volunteers in the community to make social change. It's not necessarily always dramatic and radical and innovative in that sense of the world. And the first thing we often look at when we look at a problem, because it's problems we address, is to find the solutions are out there. We kind of say, well, you don't really need to reinvent the wheel every time. And if you look at the World Wide Web and the internet and the availability of really good models and examples of projects, you can find them out there, and all you need to do then is apply them to your local area. That requires a certain amount of innovation and tweaking and bringing it to the local circumstances and so forth, but it doesn't need to be new.
Yeah.
And that to me, what the result is that proves the case. And again, next week I'll go back and there'll be another problem, be that young people with anxiety, or it might be an issue of people who are living in isolation. And instead of trying to invent a brand new solution, we will look at good solutions out there and try and tweak them. And that makes sense to me on the ground to try and so it's innovation, but it's innovation with a small I, if you like.
Fergal Conlon, thank you very much for being with us here today. And by the way, I would like to thank all the presenters with their presentations today and yesterday, for sharing best practices and innovations with us. And of course, I invite you to discover more promising practices in the Social Innovation Match database, and you know where to find it. In the last session for today, you will discover more about how the Competence Centre for Social Innovation and the European Commission are shaping the social innovation landscape, and you will hear about the strategic initiatives aimed at fostering innovation and driving positive societal impact in the future. So Neringa Poskute, head of the European Competence Centre for Social Innovation, will take the floor now, and she's also, of course, one of the drivers of today's conference. Neringa.
Thank you, Wim, and dear colleagues. The European Competence Centre for Social Innovation is the concept that unites us all today. So after exhilarating 2 days, brimming with inspiring narratives, so I'm poised to unveil how we all shape and nurture the European Union social innovation ecosystem. So to develop conducive ecosystems for social innovation across the EU is our mission and impact statement as well. And we aim to empower EU ecosystems for social innovation, creating solutions, and also solutions that can grow and be shared across the EU regions. We live by the vision every day at the European Competence Centre of Social Innovation, and we are fully embracing the journey towards approaching the vision, living each moment with passion and purpose. And we are living this vision every day. So just a reminder that we have 2 work streams, transnational calls for promoting social innovation grants and mutual learning events, knowledge sharing through EU-wide perspective. Coming to the transnational calls, so we have started to implement the Social Innovation Initiative 2 years ago, and we have made significant progress. So we have launched 5 calls for proposals, making a total of 78 million euro in funding available. We are happy to see as well 300 partners from all over Europe participating in these activities. 2 more calls on the disability and child poverty areas are planned for the next year and will be launched in 2025. So the transnational calls we have launched so far tackle problems like long-term unemployment, mitigating pressure for the societal systems of the war refugees, mobility, as well as upskilling of the vulnerable youth, establishment and development of national competence centers for social innovation. And let me mention the progress we have made with these 5 calls. So as you know, ALMA call was launched in December 2022. And it's well progressing. The beneficiaries are finalizing the mobility programs for the young people. National Competence Centers for Social Innovation have started their activities and set consortiums as well. And they have monthly meetings progressing just now. And concerning the call for social innovation for upskilling of vulnerable youth, especially young people not in employment education, so we are about to finalizing preparation of grant agreements that has to be signed for November, we hope this year, so in a month. Innovative approaches to mitigate the societal consequences of Russia's war aggression against Ukraine within EU member states. So we are under assessment of the award criteria, and we are planning to finish the assessment in either late October or November. And the breaking news for the call that was launched, long-term unemployment. And as you know, already we have received 76 applications for the total amount of 167 million euro. And the most popular countries that have applied for this call is Italy, Spain, Greece. And also we are happy to share the news that we have 3 new countries that have applied. It's Montenegro, Serbia, and also Moldova. So we have 1 application for each country. And while managing European level calls for proposals, we are simultaneously providing support to applicants and beneficiaries, of course. And over the past 2 years, we have organized 15 key events, playing a crucial role in guiding applicants and beneficiaries from the application phase till the project implementation phase. And we want the applications to be of impeccable quality, of course. Therefore, we organize informational events for our potential applicants. The information sessions are designed also to provide the key details on the call for proposals and also to promote forming transnational consortia to improve vulnerable groups' access to the labor market as well. And we are organizing, of course, kickoff events that are helping beneficiaries to launch projects and also build partnerships and share their lessons learned as well. So during mutual learning events, we are organizing the joint panel discussions, world cafes, study visits, and also case clinics. So various methods just to exchange and to share the experiences among the beneficiaries. And knowledge sharing is our second strand, and it plays a significant role in mutual learning, capacity building, and networking among the ESF plus managing authorities, stakeholders, social innovation support structures, and this is done through the 5 communities of practice and also ALMA network as well. So what an incredible journey we have made in 2023. We have organized 40 events, 8 of them on site, and also we have accelerated our efforts even further, aiming at impressive 53 events during 2024. Over the past year, the communities of practice have expanded significantly, and now we are bringing together around 500 of unique members. We have 38 members in ALVA core group, and this year, to promote mutual learning and capacity building, we have organized already 25 online events and 12 on-site events as well. And we have attracted to these on-site events 600 participants from all over the EU countries. So we are happy for this. And let me share some news about the upcoming events as well. So we still have a mutual learning workshop for national competence centers for the COP of Social Innovation that will be held on the 30th of October. It will be an online event. Also, it's very important to mention that we still have a study visit also from the COP of Social Innovation, and it will be on ESF plus social innovation, ecosystem, collaboration, model between key stakeholders, and analysis of local urban social innovation ecosystems. And it will be held on the 5th and 7th of November in Italy, in Torino. And we will still have one study visit in the framework of community of practice of employment, education, and skills. There will be a study visit of partnerships, ecosystem development by actuaries, and it will be also held on the 6th and 7th of November in Brussels. We will still have a study visit from COP on migrant integration that is planned on 27th and 28th of November in Italy, in Naples. And we will have meeting varying needs, how material support can be tailored to meet the diverse needs of different target groups. And that study visit will be held on 21st of November in Paris. ALMA network meeting in Athens, and also events for applicants and also beneficiaries. The 5th ALMA beneficiaries mutual learning event will take place already soon in the 22nd, 23rd of October in Berlin. And we will have EU-Roma network meeting. Yes, so the real significance of these events is empowering participants with the essential tools and also knowledge they need to create a lasting impact to their communities. And to illustrate this, I would like to share one key highlight from each community of practice, which was indicated by our community of practice coordinators. And also here it's worth to mention that there was quite a lot of outputs produced in different kind of documents as toolkits, desk reviews as well, and these were issued on child poverty, homelessness, education, employment and skills, migrant integration, material support, and other thematic areas. So firstly, here you can see a photo of one of the community of practice social innovation events. And I would like to highlight the study visit that was held in Paris, hosted by the community of social innovation, where 78 participants from 22 EU member states explored the French model of the social innovation. And the event underscored the importance of transnational collaboration in scaling up and transferring successful innovations, which is the main aim of the Social Innovation Plus initiative. And participants were provided with adaptable strategies for advancing social innovation in their own countries and supporting the evolution of the social innovation landscape throughout the whole Europe. So here you can see the photo of the National Competence Centres meeting and working group. So the National Competence Centres Innovation Working Group within the Community of Practice on Social Innovation has developed a collaboration approach with action plan between the European Competence Centre of Social Innovation and National Competence Centres of Social Innovation. And also a dedicated working group for national competence centers was formed to drive co-creation process with the purpose of producing common frameworks and also guiding principles in common areas for all national competence centers for social innovation. Also, the self-assessment process, I'd like to mention this, which is very important in the work that has been done through this working group. So the process started to be discussed earlier this year during the on-site and online events of national competence centers. And now the self-assessment process is finalized. And after this process, 3 groups of national competence centers were formed according to the needs and their learning paths. During those meetings, several themes of interest to explore further on by the national competence centers were identified, such as engaging the ESF Plus managing authorities, other government departments and political representatives in the process. and also social impact assessment of social innovation and the specific role of NCCs in these processes as well. And one more, exploring possibilities for knowledge sharing among different consortiums that are formed on the National Competence Center's call. Moving to the COP of social inclusion, I would like to acknowledge the valuable contribution of this COP and a mini toolkit for staff training in independent living support was developed under this COP, and offering guidance on using ESF Plus funding for staff training and in independent living support, improving services for people with disabilities and also long-term care. Further on, let me continue with the unwavering effort of the community of practice of employment, education and skills as well, to address long-term unemployment through the study towards zero long-term unemployment in the European Union, which identified 5 innovative models from Austria, France, Belgium, Germany and the Netherlands. And following this, a study visited Nantes, brought together 40 participants from 15 EU member states. So the study set the stage for the call for proposals, innovative approaches tackling long-term unemployment that was mentioned, and the applications were received. And going to the COP of migrant integration, it's worth to highlight that a joint event with the community of practice was organized in Lisbon, and the 2 COPs have been working in synergy and united their knowledge and expertise. So what the event showcased, that it showcased the best practices, also actionable strategies and funding opportunities for promoting inclusive pathways in care services, fostering social cohesion and resilience, and also strategies to integrate third country nationals into European care sector were explored as well. So here you can see the photo of a community of practice of material support, and it also achieved notable progress during this year. And the event hosted by this community of practice in Athens, so it was engaging partners, organizations and beneficiaries in material support program under the European Social Fund Plus, and it sparked meaningful conversation, setting the stage for more impactful and collaborative material support incentives moving forward. And ALMA Network, the 7th ALMA Network meeting held in Prague was notably standing out. The 2-day event addressed key network activities such as transnational partnership collaboration, tools on how to find, keep and deal with target groups as well, and different financial schemes in launching calls for proposals were discussed. And also during this event, managing authorities, target group project operators as well had a unique opportunity to collaborate, which is essential for ALMA project successful implementation. And now, before going to the social innovation match database, so with 77 events organized from the start of the implementation of the Social Innovation Plus initiative, and 14 events awaiting this year, as well as valuable outputs produced through the COPs, I would like to take the opportunity to thank our European Commission colleagues with whom we are working in very close collaboration. Thank you for your advice, support, and the continuous efforts to make maximum from the initiative. So thank you, Michael, Mathilde, Lucrezia, Bogdan. So we are meeting every week. Yes, and also I would like to take the opportunity to thank, of course, for our thematic experts for their absolute dedication for the matter, for preparing the communities of practice events and preparing the outputs as well. Huge thanks to you, dear experts. And also huge thanks for representatives of the ESF Plus managing authorities and as well participants of the COPs for your really huge and valuable input and sharing the case studies and examples and lessons learned, which makes a great value for the output of each of the COPs. Thank you very much for you. And also I would like to thank for national validators and our European validator for the fast proceedings while approving the social innovation cases in our database as well. And of course, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to each member, of course, of our team for outstanding dedication and, of course, for unwavering efforts so that are seen every day, every moment. So thank you for our team that is launching the calls for proposal, that evaluating applications, for the team of knowledge sharing that is organizing all the events for communities of practice, for our community, for our activity coordinators, and as well for our communication experts. So thank you very much. So still some slides left, but the most important moment said. And concerning the social innovation match database, so even more practical examples of actually implemented social innovation are on this database. And this year we embarked on a unique initiative, inviting stakeholders to nominate promising practices from the social innovation match. And we invited to showcase their work here that you have seen already, and several cases were presented. And as a result, 69 nominations from 19 EU countries were submitted, with over 30 social innovation showcasing during this event. And during this nomination of initiative, we observed a significant increase in the number of social innovation case studies. Last year we had 152 cases in the social innovation match database, and now we have 240. That means 88 cases increase during a year. It's really huge achievement, and we will proceed further on. Yes, and also we'd like to stress that we have a social innovation initiative, New Digital Home, and you are kindly invited to connect with us online. We promise that we introduce even more tools to stay in touch and receive relevant information that are necessary for nurturing all the events and sharing experience. And future plans, we are working on the 3 building blocks that are key to success of the Social Innovation Plus initiative, and we will be conducting impact assessment in communities of practice, which is essential for fostering transparency and continuous improvement of the COPs, and engaging meaningful impact assessment not only to strengthen the COPs, but also to empower its members for the long-lasting change. And we are also planning monitoring and evaluation activities that mean implementing robust frameworks to measure the impact of social innovations. And in turn, all of this, these insights will go into tangible proposals for our policy makers, we believe, and we strongly believe that social innovations should be higher on the agenda, and we will have facts to support this position as well. And in conclusion, what this presentation highlighted, so numerous events both online and in person, as you have noticed, countless experts engaged in debate and also challenging one another, groundbreaking ideas and proposals on employment, education and skills, material support and material migrant integration and ALMA areas, significant financial investments into the projects underway, and a growing invaluable database filled with promising models of social innovations. And all of this work is the result of our collective effort. I mean telling that each of you, each member of our team, experts, policymakers, all the stakeholders, European Commission, of course, and researchers as well. So let's continue activating social innovations, and we can make a difference together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Neringa, for giving us an overview of the achievements and the future plans of the Competence Centre for Social Innovation. Rika Torpa, Head of Unit at the European Globalization Adjustment Fund and Shared Management, will close this year's conference.
Thank you, Wim, and thank you all participants for the past day and a half. I'm very aware that I am standing between lunch and a pack of white tigers, whether awake or awakening because of the inspiring discussions that have taken place during the last day and a half. But I also heard in the first day a pledge for safe place, so I dare to take this opportunity, even with hungry tigers in front of me, to briefly introduce myself and then maybe share some reflections of the past few the discussions that we've held here. So I am the latest addition to the DG employment team working on social innovation. I think one of the innovations that we can make in-house is to maybe change the title of the unit, because it would not be very evident for you to know that we in the team are also working on social innovation. I would like to join Neringa for thanking all of you for the very inspiring work that has been presented over the last day and a half, and all the preparation that has gone into it. In particularly, I'd like to thank ESFA, Neringa, the full team in Lithuania, my colleagues in DG Employment, for bringing us together here for this forum. Also, all of the very inspirational speakers, the panelists, and the presenters. And I think, far and foremost, all of you as active participants, being in situ here in Brussels, or all of the participants online as well. Being a newbie in this setting, I actually count my lucky stars that I had the opportunity on my week 3 in the new job to meet all of you, it has been, for me, a inspiring journey of discovery and learning to spend this last day and a half with you here. And I have really been inspired by your testimonies and the dedication that all of you put into leading by example. I do, picking up on the words of Neringa at the end, I think we can make a change together. We have many game changers among us. I'm inspired by the new movement of young game changers here. Maybe few reflections from me in terms of among you, innovators and implementers of innovations. I think the few key words that I take away from this seminar, I will not even attempt to make a thorough summary of the discussions, but few takeaways that I go home with from here or back to the office is I think we need to create a space for trial and error. This is what we are trying to do with the social initiative, innovation initiative. It's all about togetherness, sharing, partnering, patience. I take home that context matters, and while there's a lot of opportunities to sharing and learning from one another, there's also enormous need for tailoring into the circumstances of each specific case. And this takes time, patience, effort, and dedication of all of you. We've heard a lot of very inspiring cases and examples. I think we've also heard and emphasized that there are challenges that we need to tackle together and want to tackle together. Right to fail is one of them. The aspiration need to measure in order to show our impact, to make further case for social innovation. And the room for flexibility. I think these are things that I have noted as challenges, and there will be many more. Now, I show my true colors here of being a technocrat, because I need to mention and want to mention to you that we will be reaching out to all of you with feedback, questionnaires. Please do take the time to provide us with your feedback, because it's your feedback that will allow us to make next year's event, 2025 event, even more meaningful, even more targeted to your needs, and make it even more inspiring event. I already look forward to meeting all of you in next year's event, and I know that we'll have many exchanges in getting there. And through the communities of practice, through the study visits, through the online meetings. And I think to finish off, I'd like us to encourage you all to continue doing the great work that you are doing. And let's keep challenging one another, to continue learning from one another and being there for one another. And I think with those few words, I would pass the floor back through to you, Wim, and also big thanks to you for all of your moderation. Thank you, Wim.
Inspiring and motivating words at the end of this conference. So, I think the final item on your agenda is lunch. Please enjoy it. Have a safe trip home. Thank you for being part of the Social Innovation Forum, the 2024 edition. Here's to the third edition, and until we meet again, keep up the great work in social innovation. Bye-bye.